Right. Hello, and welcome to today's video. Today is a Destiny 2 Hot Takes episode. Today I wanted to discuss the damage super meta. Today's episode is going to be a little different than normal. I'm going to actually live record this. So I'm going to be playing and talking at the same time. I don't usually do this because I usually struggle to talk and play at like an even like mediocre level. But today I wanted to try it. I'm a little crunched for time today because I have some plans, so I'm going to see how this goes. Alright, so today I wanted to discuss the damage super meta currently inside the game. It doesn't really make any sense, and there's a couple reasons for this. The first reason is because Celestial is actually the lowest damage super in the game. Which doesn't make any sense at all. It shouldn't be the lowest damage super in the game, but it is. By a literal mile, it is the lowest damage super in the game. And what I mean by damage supers, I mean supers that are intended to be used as damage. RNG has supers that are very specifically designed to be used for damage and for not much else. Good examples of this are things like Thunder Crash. I mean, you're not going to be using that to, you know, kill a whole bunch of ads and stuff, right? You're not going to be using that to control ads. You're not going to be using that to do anything besides maybe burst a champion or kill a boss with it, right? Like, that's its design goal. That's what Bungie wanted for it. That's the role it fills. Its design goal was to be Titan's Celestial Nighthawk, basically. And it does that really well, but the problem is it has more damage than Celestial by a lot. It's not like by a little, it's like 200,000. It's basically double. Celestial Nighthawk does about 250,000 damage for one shot, which is really good. It's pretty solid. However, Thunder Crash does about 430,000 damage, which is ridiculous. It's just not okay at all. And so, on top of this, you have Chaos Reach, which is more of a dual threat super. It ag clears pretty well, actually, especially if you run boots that I can't remember the name of. And then its damage output actually is the closest besides new tether to Thunder Crash. It's about 350,000, which is actually really close. About 300, actually starts about 380,000. And T-Clash is about 400,000. And Tether also doesn't help the damage super meta. Tether's entire goal is to be part of the damage meta. Why it's a debuff. And with either Star Rater Scales, Orpheus Rig, the super does significantly more damage than a Celestial Nighthawk does. And Celestial, it does like 380,000. It does like really close to what Chaos does with both of those. The burst damage is obviously higher starter scales because you're only shooting twice. And you get back to shooting your guns faster. But the problem is that Tether's a debuff. And so a debuff is doing more damage than a lethal one-shot crit-based item. And I don't feel like that's okay. I also don't feel like, personally, it is okay that Thunder Crash, a overshield giving, no precision required super, is doing double that of a mild skill shot. I understand that Celestial and Golden Gun has a lot of aim assist on it. I totally understand that, but I don't think it's healthy for the game to have an OS giving damage super be the preferred meta for damage supers. Because it's not like in 95% of content that you aren't basically completely safe popping a T-Crash. I mean, if you're dying popping T-Crash, we might have either you're popping it too aggressively or we have bigger problems on our hands. So I have some solutions that I think would work. My assumption is Golden Gun and Celestial Nighthawk is going to get a buff with Solar 3.0. It desperately needs it. It doesn't fit into the damage super meta anymore. I understand the whole thing of like, well, you can shoot it from anywhere on the map. Yeah, whatever, cool. But I actually think there's a way to balance them to the point where it actually makes sense. So, Celestial should be a skill shot. Yeah, that's what it should be. In most MMOs, your ranged damage dealers oftentimes have a skill shot that does large amounts of damage to said target. And I think Celestial Nighthawk should be this game's skill shot. It should take some actual skill to like be good with and do like all the damage it does. I don't think it should be as simple as it is now where it's put on Nighthawk. Oh, hey, now I do 200,000 damage instantly. I would like to see Nighthawk match T-Clash's current damage. I would like to see all of the bullet magnetism pulled off of it, though. I think all the bullet mag that's on it should be pulled. I have no problem with the controller reticle friction in there. I mean, you kind of have to have reticle friction. And the reticle friction in this game is abnormally high for controllers. So they should have no problem with the bullet magnetism being pulled off of it. But I definitely think that if it's going to do T-Crash's damage and can be popped from a mile away, I do strongly believe that didn't stun. I do strongly believe that its bullet magnetism should be pulled off of it. It should have some, some skill involved in using it. I think Thunder Crash needs to come down to about where Chaos is when it comes to damage. I totally think Chaos is fine. I don't think it's perfect, don't get me wrong, but I don't think it's horrible by any means. I'm gonna die here. No, I'm not. I don't think it's horrible by any means. I do think it is worse now that you can't just infinitely run it like we used to be able to. Which was totally broken. Like, being able to just sprint in place and get your super back was not really healthy for the game. But I do think it's better now. So I would definitely like to see Thunder Crash come down to what Chaos is, maybe even a little lower, since you have to use an exotic for it to even do that much damage. And the exotic gives you an overshield for using it that way. I think maybe even it doing a little less damage because it's really not that much of a risk for the amount of damage it does. It's not really a risk-reward thing. I would like to see it maybe even do a little less. Maybe even down to like 300,000. And then I would like to see Tether come down to about what Nighthawk currently is. I think Tether should be about its debuff. I think Tether should be about, especially with 6-shot Tether, with Quiver Tether, I think it should be about head control. I think single-shot Tether should last longer than it currently does, and I think it should be about helping your team and providing a debuff. I do not think this super should be about damage dealing. I understand that we have issues with the way debuffs work, but that's a completely different issue aside from the actual damage the supers deal. And that is my biggest problem right now, is the damage the supers deal doesn't even make any sense. Like, not a vortex, a cataclysmic nova bomb does the same damage as Celestial Nighthawk. Like, you have to run an exotic to do the same amount of damage a super just does. And so, like, that's a problem. It shouldn't be a thing. And I would really like to see that changed. I think we've reached an area where I don't want to see supers get more powerful than T-Crash, because I personally think T-Crash is too strong as a damage option. But I definitely think that when supers are that strong, they are important, and you actually like want certain characters to be part of your damage rotation. And I think it also helps class viability and class variety when more than one thing can do damage that way. And I would like to see some more reasonable sense of balance, because it doesn't really make any sense to me. I would like to see, like I said, everything just come more in line and be balanced and more logical. Tether being Hunter's best damage super while also being a debuff isn't really smart from a gameplay perspective at all, which I think definitely is in desperate need of a change. I'm not dead. So I would like to hear y'all's thoughts as we end out the video here. I am very curious about what other people think. I've heard some things like, well, Thunder Crash is like has a huge risk reward to it. I personally strongly disagree. If you learn how to use the super and just take a little bit of extra time flying, the super is just fine. You can live through basically everything with the overshield, unless you're like literally landing on an unstunned GM champion, which if you're doing that, you don't deserve to live anyways. And I also understand that technically, Celestial is the shortest cooldown of all of them, but also there's a huge chance that Practice Makes Perfect doesn't stay in the game next season. Okay, he's not stunning. I hate this game. And so, well, assuming we're getting Solar 3.0, so I would like to, if that goes away, I definitely think it needs a buff. Because technically it is the shortest cooldown super in the game if you have Practice Makes Perfect clocked, which, I mean, it's a great perk, but like nobody even understands how it works half the time, so here we are. But yeah, that's all I really have for you today. I'm going to start rambling if I don't end the video soon. This one's a little shorter, but I just wanted to discuss how I personally think the damage super meta makes basically no sense, because it really doesn't make any sense, and I think something needs to change with it, or they need to make some serious or they need a buff just Celestial in general and just let us do ridiculous amounts of damage that we already do. So yeah, that's gonna be it for today, guys. I hope that everyone enjoyed, and I will see you all in the next one on Sunday. Thank you all, and good.